Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. It is Tuesday and definitely a little bit of a roller coaster ride. For the third up day in a row, markets gapped up, and within the first 30 minutes, they were able to sell it down, sell it negative, and then, the last 2 days, the bulls or the buyers made somewhat of a stand to close us back in the range closer to the highs. The action is definitely not the easiest to deal with, but there are bigger ranges. You could use your 5-minute strategies, your 15, your 30, your 60-minute strategies, and you could also use, pivots from the prior day if you have bigger time frames. As of right now, let's just get right to the chart of the SPX. You'll see that, there is another lower pivot area that's being built, okay? You had this small pivot here where this was your red dog reversal. Today, we actually had the power to take out this prior high, which we haven't been able to do and close green, in a while. So the question is, you have the flash crash lows, you have the October lows, and now here's this lower pivot. Now, will we, see a move to this spot, which I think I spoke about this morning? Makes some sense, right? That's about 1960, and here's, the 8-day moving lower, and then, so this really would be a doable, resistance zone. Okay, before sellers want to come running back and then maybe higher. But at this point, to me, we had three friggin' gap ups, and I feel like tomorrow, like I came in today, with spiders. I had some Apple, I had some Facebook, I had some Amazon, sold them really well in the morning, didn't flip short, played some bounces in the afternoon, and for today, for some reason, I'm like, I'm not going out long. I just feel like 3 gap ups, even though I think some things are hanging in there, I'd rather come in with a fresh head and perhaps buy tomorrow if we're lower and then, see what shakes out. Because you did have technology kind of stronger, and it did feel as if oil, capitulated a little bit. It kissed right below 30 and then came back up. The XLE actually went green, and it was really under pressure, even with the Russell that's been annihilated. So there are some signs that there's a bit of a bottom pivot process here. It's just a matter of, can we get going a little bit? So let's go take a quick look at, let's look at the XLE first. XLE. Again, still, it doesn't seem like much, but if you bought it in the hole, you made some money, you tried to get above this, and, still very, very broken, but the question is, can it get up to this prior threshold that it broke, or maybe even up to here? So if you're short, kind of, it's not fun if you bounce back to retest areas if you don't have a bigger time frame, and if you're looking for a long, you need to do it calculated because it's been very tough. This was below the prior low before coming up. And so resistance 1, resistance 2, resistance 3, if this decides to try and rally. The USO came off lows, still not a heck of a lot to go on here. This was your last threshold, and it's been weighing down the power of the rallies, and at this point, if it wants to rally up, you have, what is this? Boom, boom, boom. So, not much to do. There really isn't, it feels like from day to day, intraday, there are things going on, but to make a stand here, it's not the easiest decision to make. And it does feel like even if we do bounce in the S&P or the NASDAQ or whatnot, that at some point I feel like there's going to be lower prices this year, so no one's really putting longer term money to work besides trying to create some cash flow every day. The Qs itself was stronger most of the day. Looks kind of like the spiders, but actually even better. Here is your September low. This did give you a little bit of an RDR yesterday. Closed okay. Question is, does it leave this lower pivot? But if it does, you have resistance, and then you have a boatload of resistance. So are you looking to be cute and trade this overnight for something that could happen wrong? It's hard to do. You still have this huge open gap here that started the year, and now you're kind of turning up, and there's some room. So no one wants to short it too fast, considering you just came from 115 down to below 105, and now the question is, can it push up a little bit? Russell itself also went green today. It's been absolutely annihilated. Here is another small red dog reversal. I guess you have a 2-day pivot here. It's still well below, your double bottom there. So it's showing weakness. And here is, if it wants to go, resistance 1 and then, resistance 2. So this is all we're trying to figure out is, can we put a pivot low in to rally up to resistance 1, 2, or 3? You look at the IBBs, it held again, for another session. If you look here, lots of ways to look at this. This to me is really, blaring and could be trouble. Here you have this major support going sideways, ascending channel broke, ascending channel broke, ascending channel. It loves to break ascending channels, and now it's hovering on big support, bounced off it twice. So we'll see if that holds any traction here. Okay, it's below every moving average, and here's a boatload of resistance. I guess there's money to be made if it were to take out this pivot, right? Take out this pivot, and there you go. And then obviously there's another resistance higher. So now for tomorrow, resistance 1, 2, 3, or for the next week. The high beta names were, a little stronger than the rest. Yesterday went along. Amazon was in Netflix and Facebook. Today I'm not in them. Amazon kind of was the worst one out of the group. It was up $6, $7, so it was a decent trade from this reversal point. If you got long here and sold some on the open, you made some money, but contained right there at the 8-day. We'll see what happens there tomorrow. Google acted a little bit better, where it actually stayed up most of the day. You had your reversal right here, so here's your day-and-a-half trade as a red dog reversal type there, and if it wants to go up a little bit more, maybe it retests this 755 that I wrote about this morning. Here was your breakout failure that could have got you flattened out, and this was your bottom tail to maybe get you in for a trade. And again, that's all we're looking for, is we're looking for trades. That's what we do every day. We look for trades, and we try and outline bigger macro trends, intermediate trends, and even short-term trends. But at this point, every sector in stocks below the 8 and 21-day moving average, so that means there's no momentum. And most stocks are below the 50, 100, and 200 days, so it shows you that they're even institutionally broken. So that's why you got to be a bit more careful. Facebook actually acted, pretty well, and some of these names are not below all of them, not like the oil names. Here was your little red dog reversal, closed okay. Does seem as if there's some room. If it wants to get back up to here, this is your first resistance spot, so resistance 1, resistance 2, if the market's up tomorrow. Then you have Apple, which we talked about how it was showing some relative strength for the past 2 days, and still, unless you took it overnight and bought the dip, it was hard to make some money. Did clear this. Here's your next resistance, and then this is your bigger one. But again, not a very healthy looking pattern here overall. Talked many times about the head and shoulders top pattern, and the left shoulder, the head. When this broke, that was your sell signal. Now it's trying to hover here, and so this neckline takes you down to, I thought it would take us down to at least here at some point. Some guys even think lower, but we'll see. At this point, bouncing a little bit, but still not even able to close with a green bar, meaning close above the open. So one of these days, that's why the gap ups are hard, because a gap up, got to figure out if it's going to fail, where you could buy it against, and deal with the noise, and then it doesn't get above where it opened, and that's what creates the red bar. So in closing, because I started this a little late, past few days, markets made an attempt to try and hold the 1900 area. We've had a few different, gap ups that didn't hold. Maybe one of these times is, when it's too easy just to short the gap up, they'll get run over a little bit and it'll create a bigger move. And if that's going to happen, we're going to need oil to really get a pivot low, and we'll need some help from the oversold groups like the Russell and the banks, and not just some of these high beta names that are hanging on by a thread. So at this point, the oscillator I think was minus 85 to start at some point at the lows, and now I think it's closer to minus 60. So it's still oversold, just not as severe, and we'll see what happens next. We looked at China tonight to see if the Shanghai holds 2,800 and goes positive. This morning, Europe was up a lot. That helped our futures, so we'll see what the story is tomorrow. As before I came in here, there were some Iranian headlines that they took over, 2 U.S. ships. We'll see if that leads to anything else bigger, or they just said they just were looking for directions. And then the futures that are down right now will probably be up, so we'll see what happens. But overall, more than enough movement intraday to make some money. So if you don't feel comfortable being long or short overnight, then play it by ear tomorrow. Have a great day.